Chapter 9. Hugh Brookings, June 11, 2036. Somehow, I find my way to Tuck's bedside in all the morning's chaos. He looks older than when he said what I thought was his last goodbye to me and Rosie the afternoon of June 9, 2017. His face is as chiseled as ever, at least what I can see of it. His eyes are closed and I'm finding it hard to recall the exact shade of green. His dark lashes are as thick as I remember. His hair is far longer than I'd ever seen it and well salted, especially around the temples. Little has changed about him after all these years, except now there is an air of vulnerability that had been veiled by the arrogance of youth. In the movies, in a moment like this, the person sitting bedside would reach out and take the patient's hand, only I can't bring myself to do so. A part of me doesn't want to shatter the illusion of the larger-than-life, invincible soldier I'd once known. Touching him would make him only flesh and blood, might soften my anger toward him. "Mr. Brookings," a familiar voice fills my ears from the doorway. My head snaps towards the door and for a moment I think I've lost my marbles. My heart stops and a chill runs up my spine. If I were a superstitious person, I'd think I was looking at a ghost from the past, but then I remember that I never knew Tuck as a young man. My brain quickly crunches the numbers. He was already in his late 30s when we first met. I take in young Tuck's ghost, large and intimidating, until I take in his hands. Young Tuck's hands are more delicate than the man on the bed beside me. This version of Tuck is a little more beautiful, if that was possible. Then he pushes off the doorframe and makes his way towards me. His toes point slightly inward as he steps, and my eyes burn with tears. I've seen that walk. It was a Rosie quirk and he had inherited it. "My name is Elim Ryan," young Tuck says, extending a hand. I don't bother taking his hand, instead I stand and pull him to me and hold on for dear life. I hold him until I feel another presence in the room. I let him go and see a beautiful waifish creature standing just inside the hospital door. She is tall like her father and brother. She looks like a delicate version of Tuck, and without introduction I know who she is. She is Rosie and Tuck's daughter. I gesture for her to come closer, and when she does, I pull her into my arms too. Eventually I let them go. I make sure I haven't squeezed the life out of them. I stand back and study them once more. There is little of Rosie in them, mostly Tuck, but I know Rosie is there somewhere. "Agent Ramirez says you're my mom's friend," the girl asks. I nod. "My name is Rain Ryan," she says. "That's our dad," but she lets the sentence drift away. "I know. I knew him once upon a time," I tell them. "I'm sorry," Elim begins but can only finish the apology with a gesture to Tuck's body. I gesture for them to sit near the window where a built-in bench is nestled. They both sit and we just study each other for a moment longer. "How would you like to be addressed?" Elim asks. His politeness and formality are so military. I can't tell if it's from Tuck or Rosie, perhaps both. "You can call me whatever makes you comfortable," I say, then realize I haven't introduced myself yet. "You can call me Hugh for the time being." Elim and Rain force strained smiles. "Your dad was my friend too," I tell them. "Do you hate me?" Rain asks. I reflexively jump in my seat. "Why would I hate you?" Because I'm the reason my mom is dead," she says. I lean forward and look her in the eyes. "Don't you ever blame yourself for her death, you hear me? Your mother wanted you so much she would have traded 1,000,000 lifetimes for you. You and your brother are the most beautiful and precious things in this world because you too are your parents' legacy, pride, and joy."
Chapter 10. Rain Ryan, June 11, 2036. With those words I understand why my mom loved this man so much. Family and decorum complicate grief, loss, and life in general. Existing in a judgment and expectation-free zone is liberating. Hugh Brookings is a comfort. Hugh, will you stay with me to say goodbye to Dad? Elim asks, his honey-brown eyes glistening, making my vision blur too. Hugh nods. Elim stands and I rise too. Elim leads the way to Dad's side and takes Dad's right hand, locking their thumbs together before planting a kiss on the back of Dad's weathered hand. Elim, my steady unshakable brother, falls to his knees and presses his forehead to Dad's hand. Don't leave us, please. I don't know what to do without you. Elim howls into the sheets and plastic mattress, muffling his words in sobs. In all my 18 years, I've never seen Elim cry, not even after skinning his knees, falling off an unruly Mustang, or when he left for college. It's unnerving to see my big brother cry, to know that he too is scared. I settle on Dad's left side, and I take his hand. The texture of his skin is familiar, but the fiery warmth isn't there. I fight the urge to recoil, but I know this is the last time I'm ever going to hold his hand. I force myself to look at his face or whatever I can see past the bandages and tubes. For the first time I take in how handsome he is, and I can't make sense of how or why my parents didn't get their happily ever after. I try to imagine my parents together, but I can't. I can see my mother's beauty in my mind's eye. I can see my father's beauty right in front of me, but somehow, I can't splice the two together. I can't imagine our lives other than what it has been. Real life is nothing like Disney had promised. In all the movies, the handsome man and beautiful woman always end up living happily ever after. Hugh, I can't make sense of where it all went wrong, I say aloud. I don't know, dear. I suppose we're all here because we're all looking for answers to the same questions, huh? With that admission, Elim and I both allow ourselves to let it all out, 19 and 18 years of silent questions and pent-up sorrow. We cry with Hugh in a way we've never allowed ourselves to do with Dad or the family. The Ryans have always been supportive, loving, everything a person could ask for in a family, but being a Ryan always meant living up to our rugged frontiersman reputation. Hugh is familiar and soft like a hug. He represents the unspoken softness we might have missed out on without a mother. Nana, Pop, our 5 aunts and uncles, Hugh, Elim and I squeeze into Dad's hospital room for the big moment. We all watch as the nurses turn off the respirator, stop the IV line, and remove all the tubes under the doctor's watch. The EEG and vitals monitor responds in real time to the well-orchestrated proverbial pulling of the plug. The line indicating that Dad is technically alive starts to stretch and the spikes begin to flatten. In a few seconds the line flattens, and the machine lets out a steady high-pitched wheeze. The doctor puts his stethoscope in his ears and a nurse takes hold of Dad's left wrist. We've all agreed ahead of time, we don't need to sit with an empty vessel. Sitting with what once was a living, breathing human being won't change things. One nurse records the time of death, and another pulls the sheet up over Dad's face. How unfitting for a man like Dad to go, I think. Dad, born Joseph Tucker Ryan to William and Beatrice Ryan, the last of 6 boys. A record-setting athlete at the very high school Elim and I attended, his records only broken by his own son. A 20-year Army veteran having served as an infantryman, airborne paratrooper, ranger tabbed, special forces engineer, Delta Force operator, having served during Kosovo, Iraq, and Afghanistan. How anticlimactic, I say to myself.